Hello, I'm Reverend Mike. Welcome to Missing the Point. In this series, I attempt to correct common misconceptions found in religion, and there are a lot. Today's topic: God will not save you from disaster. I guess you could also call this episode, Is God Really in Control or Do We Have Free Will? I've kind of done a video on free will before, but in our current political climate, our social climate, I keep hearing over and over again, God will save me. I can do this, I can do that. I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. God will save me. God will save us. No, he won't. As I've said, I've done videos touching on this subject in the past, but I feel it requires more attention. Every time I hear someone say, God wouldn't let that happen, I die a little bit inside. I'm sure if Atlantis really existed, there were people who thought their gods would save them, but their civilization was destroyed by fire and water. The Sumerian culture was the cradle of civilization and accomplished great things, but it's been lost to time. Nothing but ruins. They probably thought their gods would save them too. The Roman Empire ruled a good portion of the world, but eventually it collapsed. The Mongols ruled an even greater area, but it too fell in time. They probably thought their gods would save them. Now, if you're a person of faith, you might be saying, but their gods were false gods. If you think that, you're missing the point. Our current civilization is no more immune to destruction as they were, because our Creator gave us free will, and He will let us use that free will to thrive, or He will let us use our free will to destroy our civilization. The idea that we don't have to worry about climate change because God is in control is ridiculous. That's like saying you don't have to worry about that robber shooting you because God's in control. You don't have to worry about abusive people because God's in control. You don't have to worry about floods because God's in control. You don't have to worry about earthquakes, dying of infectious diseases. Hey, you don't even have to worry about an asteroid slamming into the earth because God's in control. I'm sure there are people that don't think they have to worry about their family pet getting hit by a car because God is in control. And you don't have to worry about your daughter being murdered by her boyfriend because God is in control. Guess what? People have free will. If we don't protect ourselves from a disease, it can kill us. If other people choose to engage in criminal behavior, you can be robbed or murdered, or your family pet can be hit by an unsafe driver. In war, soldiers and innocent civilians will die, and it has nothing to do with whether or not God will or will not save them. Are you going to grab a hot pan from the oven without any protection on your fingers at all? Is God going to save you from being stupid and burning your fingers? No. This absurd notion from our everyday lives to global catastrophe. If we continue to pollute our world, the climate will continue to change. If greenhouse gases continue to be pumped into the atmosphere, the ice caps will melt and the oceans will rise by at least 100 feet. Some estimates say even 200 or 300 feet. If ocean levels rise even just 100 feet, there's no way we can save our coastal cities in this country and around the world. If ocean temperatures rise just a few more degrees, methane hydrates on the ocean floor will melt, releasing billions of tons of methane into the atmosphere. If billions of tons of methane are released, those greenhouse gases will continue to trap heat and raise global temperatures even further. If global temperatures continue to rise, drought will continue to spread in drier areas. The evaporation of more seawater will make storms far worse in wet areas, causing more destruction and flooding. And unfortunately, there's no way to pump that excess water to drought areas because big corporations and governments won't build water pipelines because there's no money in it. And by the time there is, it'll be too late. Spreading drought will kill crops. Spreading storm damage will destroy crops as well. In the winter, all the extra moisture in the air will lead to more snow and ice falling on our cities because that evaporated water has to go somewhere. And then there will be food shortages. You thought it was hard to get toilet paper, your favorite foods, and basic supplies during the 2020 lockdowns? That was because people were hoarding them. Imagine if that stuff didn't exist at all. What if the food has been destroyed by weather? What if supply chains or manufacturing plants that make toilet paper and other necessities are destroyed by weather, flooded out, destroyed by storms and tornadoes? We'll see even more worse shortages, and those shortages will never end because there aren't anything to replace those lost supplies. No new wave of supplies brought into your area. People will be displaced from their homes. People will starve to death. People will kill each other for the few resources that remain. Now, I grant you, this is probably a worst case scenario. It's very plausible. Maybe climate change wouldn't affect our society that much. But even if it's half as bad as what I just described, a lot of people are going to be hurt and even killed by ignoring this problem. All of these horrible disasters could occur because we had the free will given to us by God to change things for the better, and we didn't use it. All because short-sighted people didn't foresee the repercussions of their actions and decided that God was going to save them because He's in control. If you jump off the top of a 10-story building, God is not going to save you. If you alter the climate of the planet, God is not going to save you. You will suffer. You will see societal collapse. You will possibly die. Those few who survive will rebuild society eventually, no question. But you and your family might not make it, might not survive. And it has nothing to do with God being in control. It has everything to do with you having the ability to save things and not doing it. He gave you free will, and if you choose to commit suicide by eating a pound of rat poison, He's going to allow you to die a painful death. If you choose to commit suicide on a global scale, He will allow our society to collapse and millions to die. Now, I'm sorry if this brought people down, but I'm sick of people acting irresponsibly and thinking that God's going to save them, that God's just going to fix it. When Japan declared war on the United States, God did not save the innocent people at Pearl Harbor. He did not save the people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki from being obliterated by nuclear bombs. When Russia chose to build a power plant in Chernobyl and it had a meltdown, God didn't save the innocent people living in that area from being irradiated. When we decided to use DDT as an insecticide in the 1940s, God didn't save us when millions of people became sick or died from exposure before it was outlawed in 1972. Make no mistake, there will be people who want you to believe God will save you from everything, including climate change and global warming, because they have a personal stake in it. This is why it is important to look at their motivations. Businesses don't want to spend money to make their endeavors more environmentally friendly. That costs money and cuts into profits. If profits are down, stockholders are unhappy, and if the stockholders are unhappy, then the CEO and other leaders in the company might lose their precious bonuses, or in some situations, maybe even their jobs. Politicians will tell you that they want change, but the lobbyists that paid campaign money to help them get elected will try to influence them. Even politicians who are not swayed by lobbyists are often business people themselves and don't want to hurt their businesses and corporations with environmentally friendly policies that might cut into their profits. And they will tell you whatever lies they need to get you to support their actions. They will claim that all the threats to our society are a hoax, so their businesses can stay open even if they are hurting or literally killing people. They will lie to you to convince you that their business helps people or that their competitors are evil. For instance, racists will try to convince you that all immigrants are criminals so that they can prevent minorities from entering the country, while trying not to look racist at the same time. But in some ways, prosperity preachers are the worst. They don't want you to spend your time or money helping people or protecting the environment. They want you to spend your time listening to their sermons. They want you to help spread their lies about Scripture and recruit new members. They don't want you spending your money to help people or to stop destructive business practices, because that cuts into their precious tithe money, which they use oftentimes to line their own pockets. Of course, greed is not the only motivation. It's easier to think that everything will be just fine, that God's in control, because it's too scary to contemplate the alternative. There are plenty of people who naively will repeat, God is in control, God won't let it happen to me, God won't let it happen to our country, because they honestly do not want to believe that the worst can happen. And that is oftentimes more dangerous than greed. God gave us the tools to save ourselves from disaster, our intellect. We can see through the lies the preachers, politicians, and business people tell us. We can take precautions to save ourselves from disease. We can make social programs to help impoverished areas to reduce crime. We can avoid war so our children aren't killed. We can act responsibly so we don't accidentally hurt or kill others. We can watch for asteroids and develop the technology to deflect them before they can hit the Earth. And we can act now to reduce climate change before it has a catastrophic effect on our lives. At the very least, we'll all be able to breathe a lot easier without all the air pollution. In other videos, I've quoted several scriptures that repeatedly say, do not put God to the test. And this is exactly what those scriptures are referring to. You do not put God to the test. You do not leap off of a 10-story building and say, God will save me, because he won't. You have free will, and you did it to yourself. That applies not only to our personal lives, but on national levels and in global levels as well. We have to use the tools that we were given to solve our problems and not leave it up to somebody else, even our Creator. Thank you for watching this video. Please click like or dislike. Subscribe if you want to see more. Please be good to each other. We are all in this together.